I'm walking with the Word in Sheffield, and I've been thinking about Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. Paul says this: I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who lives, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. There's so much that we can take from this, and I want to share three things today. Firstly, Jesus Christ lives in us, but our old self has died. And it actually sounds pretty painful to say, I have been crucified with Christ. That's not a comfortable process. The cross was horrible, it was brutal, and it was painful. And Paul is talking about spiritual crucifixion here. It's not condoning suicide. It's saying that spiritually, some of the things in our old lives have to die in order for Jesus Christ to come alive in us. But that's still painful. And there'll be certain things in your life that were true before you were a Christian or before you knew Jesus personally that have to die. For me, it's one of the things is pride. I've realised that at the moment I'm actually still battling with pride. It's one of the things of my old self, and it's not been fully crucified. And that leads me into my second point. I remember a while ago feeling really demoralised because it was taking me a long time to become more Christ-like. I remember thinking, why am I still sinning in this way? This is old sin. And I remember a pastor saying very wisely in church, it took Jesus a long time to die on the cross. He didn't die immediately. There was a long time where he was hanging there. And that's the same can be true of us. It's not an immediate overnight process where all of a sudden I've become completely Christ-like and my old self has died. Certain sins and problems will sneak back in, and it's not beating yourself up or feeling too depressed about that, just allowing God's Spirit to work in you and bring Jesus to life in you. And as Jesus comes to life in you, those old things will naturally die. And a final point, this is really cool. Paul's closing lines here are this. He says, Jesus Christ, who loved me and gave himself for me. It's true to say that Jesus died for everyone in the world and he loves everyone in the world. But it's also true to say he loves us individually. If we were the only people on the planet, he would have still given himself for us, and he would still love us just as much as he loves us alongside everyone else. It's kind of like a parent. If you're a parent of more than one child, you don't love your children any less. A property of love is that when it's divided between many people, it's not diminished, it doesn't reduce. And that's so true of God's love. God's love is limitless, unconditional, and just incredible.